everyone. Thank you for listening to our podcast. Before we get started, I just want to say if you are enjoying the podcast, please subscribe on iTunes and give us a positive review if you feel so moved, and give us a 5-star rating if you think it deserves it. It really helps. It helps people find us. It helps people see the podcast and find it more easily and more quickly, and we would really appreciate it. So thank you so much. Now let's listen to our episode. Welcome to the Bruce Lee Podcast, a podcast about Bruce Lee's life and philosophy. Hi everyone, this is Shannon Lee.
And this is Sharon Lee.
Welcome to the Bruce Lee Podcast.
Welcome.
Hi everyone. Today we thought we would talk about a few things, but the basic theme is a day in the life of Bruce Lee.
How did Bruce Lee spend his days? What did he spend his time on? How much did he sleep and all that? We want to get into the detail of a day.
Yes. And I want to give a quick shout out in your time as well.
And, you know, your mom said your dad didn't have any particular typical day because it just depended on whether he was shooting a movie or teaching students or doing an exhibition. But so this is kind of one typical day. Let's just walk through the nuts and bolts of, let's describe this one day in the life of Bruce Lee.
Yeah, so I think an important place to start is that my mom always said that my dad really believed in getting a lot of sleep. He believed in the restorative powers of sleep and being well rested so that he would have plenty of energy throughout the day. And so he typically got about 8 hours of sleep a night, which is, which is great. So then he would spend the first couple hours of the day stretching and doing some cardio. I know he liked to run, he liked to jog 6 or 7 miles a day, and he was very into stretching because, much as you probably would think that he was a very flexible person naturally, he actually wasn't. It was something he had to work at. So he worked very hard and made sure to stretch every day to keep his flexibility up. And he really also liked to use the jogging as a meditative tool, that it was really a chance for him to sort of be outside, let his mind be free and wander while he was jogging along.
And he would just jog around your neighborhood?
Yeah, he'd just go out the front door.
Which anybody can do, so you don't need an expensive gym or anything complicated. You can just roll out of bed, stretch, jog around your neighborhood.
Yeah, which it's funny because I'm always in constant relationship with exercise in various ways, and I always am saying that to myself. Whenever I start to get into this, like, well, I should join a gym, I always think, I just need to get up and move my body. I can do that in so many different ways right here, right now. So
yeah.
Then he would have breakfast and play with the kids. There'd be about an hour where he was doing that kind of thing, and whatever little things he needed to do to get ready in the morning and all that kind of stuff. Then he would sometimes teach. On this particular day, would have a private lesson for a couple hours, which he would like to do either in his own backyard or in the backyard of the person that he was teaching.
And so your dad taught many of Hollywood's actors and executives and many other people. These are the private lessons, right?
Yeah, and he would also give private lessons to people that were in his regular class as well. But yes, he was teaching people like James Coburn and Steve McQueen and Sterling Siliphant and Ted Ashley. These are all people who were in the Hollywood scene back in the day. So he would give a private lesson for a couple hours. And then sort of between the hours of really sort of 12 and about 4, he would have lunch, and then he'd either go down to his school and teach, or he might use that time for writing. whether it was creative script ideas, treatments, or it was personal philosophical writing. So in any given day, he would use about 3 hours of his time for that. And then he would take another sort of hour and a half after that for his own personal training and workout time.
So this would be his second workout of the day.
Yes. Then he would have time in the evening to just be with his family, play with us kids. You know, we always had dogs and cats, and, you know, on here we have about an hour and a half of his time playing with the kids and hanging out with the family. Then for the rest of the evening, from sort of about 6 to 9, he would have dinner. He would work out with students and friends, so more working out, but he had, for instance, a group called the Wednesday night group that would come over to the house on Wednesday nights, and these were his students. If they wanted extra instruction, they would come over, and he would work out with them, train them. A lot of times they would stay for dinner. It was sort of a, you know,
kind of a communal workout period.
Yeah.
So is that group different from him teaching his students in his studio?
Yeah, it was a lot of the same people, but if those people wanted extra non-structured instruction, then they would come to the house in the evening. Sometimes there'd be just a handful of them. And it was just sort of like a hangout, workout, play around, grown-up men playing, fighting one another.
Yeah, it seems
in our backyard.
Seems like extended dinner party / workout hangout.
Yes.
Okay.
And then for the last couple hours of the night, from like 9 to 11, he would read. You know, as we know, he was an extensive reader, and he would write some more notes, journals, and, you know, spend that time at home.
And then he would go to bed.
And then he would go to bed. Start it all over again. But as you can see, I mean, there's a lot of dedicated time to physical and mental activity.
Yeah, I mean, the themes that I see in just this one day is a lot of discipline about self-care.
Yes.
From sleeping to the consistent working out, but also a balance with family and kids, and also private time, private creative time, reflection time. So I'm sure most of our days don't look this balanced and in harmony, but clearly you can just see it just on the clock and in this infographic about how that's achievable. I mean, not everybody's going to be as disciplined all the time, but it's such a good, clear example of what is possible.
Right, and that's why it's interesting to me, you know, whenever anybody comes to our offices and comes into the archive and sort of gets a little tour, and we pull out some of the writings and some of the things, people always think, wow, this is a lot of output for a person who died when they were 32 years old. And it's because he made time for really all of that practice, for the writing, for the reading, for the note-taking, for expressing himself. So,
you know what is conspicuously missing from this day in the life?
What?
I was just thinking about what a modern person's day in the life would be, and what would be the real major differences is there's not 1 to 4 hours of television watching, you know,
Yes.
on this.
True.
There's not 1 to 6 hours of internet surfing or staring at your phone or checking your Facebook status, which, you know, really does add up. And so then when people say, I don't have time to read, I don't have time to write or make something or create something, it's not that we don't have time, it's just that we a lot of times give it away to these other mindless and fruitless activities, partly because we haven't structured our day in this kind of very purposeful self-care regimen. So our day might look like we get fewer hours of sleep, so then we're already depleted.
Right.
And then we jam ourselves with some like coffee or stimulant in the morning, don't work out, eat some croissant or some sort of like processed food product, and then we spend like a good 10 hours at work being hardcore about one thing but not balanced. And then because we just did that, we have to go and detox or have like a letdown in some way. So we might have a beer or watch bad reality TV for several hours just so that we can unwind from that kind of extreme situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just maisonk out in front of the television. People can feel in this kind of modern pace that they're just barely keeping up, so they feel justified in that kind of reward of junk food or junk time.
I go through bouts of this in my own life where I'm taking better care of myself and sometimes not taking better care of myself. And I notice that when I'm not taking care of myself, I'm more tired, I'm more fatigued, and then I don't have the energy that I feel I need. May or may not be true, but I feel I need to do something creative that uses my mind or that I have to think a lot about. So a lot of times at the end of the day, if I'm exhausted, I just want to put on the TV and zone out. I don't want to pick up a book and read. I don't want to meditate because I feel like, oh, I'm so exhausted, I'm just going to fall asleep anyway. Or I don't want to, work on that project that I've been wanting to work on forever because I haven't been taking care of myself properly to have the energy to really want to pursue those things. Because I don't even really know if it's true that it's about literally having the energy or not having the energy. Because sometimes once you get engaged in something, you go, oh, this is fine, this is great. But
it creates its own energy.
It creates its own energy, exactly. But in your mind, when you're already in that sort of fatigued place, you just automatically go, ugh, that would require effort.
Yeah. And then also even that thought pattern is a habit.
Yes.
And so you're not really sure what's actually happening. You just are in the habit of doing, oh, after I work this many hours, I just want to zone out without even really checking in with yourself. Like, do I want to zone out? Do I want to make something? Do I want to create something? Do I want to be inspired? Or it's just a mindless pathway of like, I'm walking in the door and now I'm turning on the TV.
Well, and it's so interesting too because I was just reading about, I can't remember what country it is that just went to a 6-hour workday. And if you look on this, I mean, the things that could be considered work, now granted, he didn't have a job like a 9-to-5, go to an office type of job. But the things that are considered work here, it's sort of like a couple of hours of concentrated effort and then a little break and then a couple more hours of concentrated effort and then some time to take care of himself,
and then some family time.
Yeah.
But I mean, in total, he's working more than 8 hours the way that you would in a regular day, but he's breaking it up and making sure he's taking care of his body, he's connecting with family and with his community.
Yeah, and also I think too there's something to be said when you can, sort of really concentrate your efforts into smaller chunks of time, you can be more productive in a shorter amount. And then a lot of this, like in the evening, the dinner workout with students and friends, that is, I guess, technically would be considered work for him, but I think it's also considered play.
Right, it's social time, it's community time, it's connection, right?
Right, exactly.
And also that the work, quote-unquote work, takes many forms, that it's not just one speed, one style.
Right.
And I think that we, in the post-industrial age, we think of ourselves as, in this kind of productivity model where you have to be as efficient and productive as possible, is thinking ourselves as kind of like machinery, like we should be sitting at our desk working for 8 hours straight with a lunch break and, this kind of notion. And just no human I know likes that or is productive in that way. So it's nice to see this kind of laid out visually.
Yeah, that's what I like about it. And you can go to the website and you can lay yours out too. And I think it's just an interesting thing. And whether you go to the website or not, you can do it in a notebook or a journal, but you can look at your day and write down, well, how am I spending my time? and then you can really see and get a sense.
Yeah, I think the exercise here is to really document for a while.
Yeah.
Just so you can see. And the really amazing thing about Bruce Lee is that he was such a good documenter. Mm-hmm. We have excerpts of his daytimers, and this is how we get to bring you this podcast and have this conversation, because he went through the exercise of writing it down. So I think we should all try this for a while. And just sometimes I'm in the archive and I like to flip through some of his daytimers just to see what was Bruce doing on a Tuesday in 1968. And it's just kind of an amazing snapshot into, you know, how busy we all are, and yet it's great to see, okay, how did he take care of himself? What did he do? So Shannon has a few of these daytimers here with us, and and why don't you just read a few just so people can, aside from this one day that we went through.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have every single thing laid out, but right now here I have the 1968 daytimer, which is very fragile and very interesting to look at. But a lot of what he's documenting in here are his workouts and then also appointments, essentially. So, you know, we can just flip to a random date here. Let's see. March 25th, 1968, 10:30 a.m., Joe Heim. He punched 500 times with his right hand and then 250 times with his left hand, but then added in supplementary punches of 500. At 5:30, he ran 1 mile in 6 3/4 minutes, so he could run pretty fast. Sterling called, and he went to a demo with Joe Louis, it looks like. So, let's see, this is March 27th. He punched 500 with his right hand, 250 with his left. He must have been working more on the right than the left here. For his stomach, he did 7 sets of leg raises, 7 sets of sit-ups, and 7 sets of side bends. He did more supplemental punching of 500 with the right and 250 with the left. He cycled 2 miles in 7 minutes, did more supplemental punching. At 7:30, he had a workout with Ted, Herb, and Dave. You know, so there, it just goes sort of on and on. Ran a mile in 6.5 minutes, cycled 2 miles in 7 minutes. Linda's birthday is today, you know, all these different things.
And, you know, he hand wrote this into these little books, and I want to say that today our ability to document our days and activities is so much easier because everybody has a phone.
Yeah.
And there's all these apps and calendaring systems, and all you have to do is pull up your Google Calendar or iCal or whatever you're using and just put a note in there, like just type in, watched 6 hours of television and had a latte. Or
Yeah.
it's actually just a great research exercise to do.
It is, for sure. And I'll just point out one more day because I think it's interesting. May 23rd, he punched 600 with his right, 600 with his left. At 12 p.m. he had lunch with Mito Uehara, who was the editor of Black Belt magazine. He cycled 6 miles in under 17 minutes. At 4 p.m. he met with Lou Alcindor, which, if you don't know, is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Oh.
That's what his name used to be. And then he made some phone calls in the evening.
Yeah, you know, it goes to one of, you know, Bruce Lee's philosophies is research your own experience.
Right.
And so if you can do this exercise for yourself for a week or a month, it's in the, you know, with the philosophy of just like researching your own experience. Just be neutral about it, document it, and then it's great just to see the snapshot to go, oh, this is how I'm spending my time, and then there's a gentle way to just say, okay, how do I want to reshape these days?
I know for myself personally, like, I have been really trying to be thoughtful about what I'm doing with my free time. So, you know, I get home, I make dinner for my daughter, I feed my dogs, I take them out, you know, I help her if she needs it with homework. I get stuff ready for the next day if there are any work items I need to do. And then usually by the evening time, you know, 9, 10 o'clock at night before I'm going to go to bed, usually what I've done in the past is just be mindless about it and throw on the TV and watch something. And now I'm trying to be very conscious to say, well, this is my time. You know, what do I want to do with it? Now, I may want to sit and watch a television show because I want to rest, I want to catch up on one of my favorite shows, that's fine. But I've been being much more directed to say, well, you know what, actually, I feel like reading. I'm going to read my book. Or, you know what, I've really been meaning to do X. Like, literally last night I was like, I've been meaning to darn these holes in this blanket for, like, forever. So I was like, I'm going to sit here and do this, and now that's done. You know what I mean? Like, it can be simple. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm going to change the world in the next 3 hours.
Yeah, and also I just added stretching while I'm catching up on, the shows I like, so that it's something that you can just do without saying, oh, I have to stop doing this or that. But I wanted to work on my flexibility, so I'm just going to stretch on the floor while I'm watching this rather than just laying on the bed like a vegetable.
Which, by the way, is very Bruce Lee of you. My dad used to be a major multitasker in that way, in that he would stretch while watching, a boxing film, and then he would sometimes have a notepad and a pen there so that he could jot down thoughts, or have a book that he was skimming through at the same time. So,
all right, well, you can create your own day at doyouknowbruce.dreamhosters.com if you want to do the infographic, or just use your calendar system, and let us know how you're doing and what you find out about yourself once you kind of map out what your days look like. And you can email us at hello@brucelee.com or tag us #BruceLeePodcast on your social feeds. Okay, so we also wanted to read some of your emails to us. We've been asking you guys to participate with us, and so many of you have written in and given us updates on how you're doing with some of the action items. Some of you wrote in your own definite chief aims that we covered in episode 6. So Shannon's going to go into the mailbag and just start reading some listener mail from you guys.
Going into the mailbag. A couple of you sent us your definite chief aims, which, as Sharon said, is from episode 6, if you want to go back and review.
Just to recap on what the definite chief aim is.
Yes, so my father wrote a document called My Definite Chief Aim, wherein he laid out his sort of vision and goals for his life, really. And just to recap quickly, my father's definite chief aim was, I, Bruce Lee, will be the first highest paid Oriental superstar in the United States. In return, I will give the most exciting performances and render the best of quality in the capacity of an actor. Starting 1970, I will achieve world fame, and from then onward till the end of 1980, I will have in my possession $10 million. I will live the way I please and achieve inner harmony and happiness. Bruce Lee, January 1969. So that was my father's definite chief aim, which really gave him something very concrete to aim at in his life. So we asked all of you to, if you wanted, to try and come up with your own definite chief aims, and a couple of you sent yours in. So I thought I would read those. This one is from Andrew Rothschild. It says, Shannon and Sharon, I just recently discovered the podcast and I'm a huge fan. Thank you so much for putting it out there and for all the work you're doing. Here is my definite chief aim. I will be a partner/owner of a thriving physical therapy practice. I will have more control of my daily schedule in order for me to truly balance personal, family, and business time. Being more successful financially in business will allow us to provide more services to our patients and potential customers. In return, we will be able to provide more access and opportunity to improve health and wellness, along with injury prevention to the community. Thanks again, Andrew Rothschild.
That's a great definite chief aim.
It is. It's very specific. It's very goal-oriented. So
yeah.
It's wonderful. We support you in your pursuit of that.
Yeah, and I'm sure that it's probably done something expansive to you to just think it, write it down, and then share it.
Yeah, and so Andrew, if you want to share with us, what writing your definite chief aim has helped you with, or if it has helped you focus or brought a certain kind of energy into your life, we'd love to hear about it. Then we also received a definite chief aim from Tia Kansara. She says, my definite chief aim. I, Tia Kansara, commit to redesigning the economic system to reflect a higher state of consciousness. I will spread the concept of, quote, replenish, giving more than you take, and design the, quote, World Replenish Index, which will help consumers identify products they can buy to replenish planet Earth. I will design a business that supports this and will achieve by 2020 the first mass-used system that updates the well-known GDP. How about that?
Nice. Very ambitious.
Very ambitious,
When
Tia.
I read that, I was like, yeah, get it, girl.
Go
do
for it. Exactly.
And what an amazing concept.
Yeah, it really is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we see it working in microcosms, in small spaces where this is totally possible.
Yeah.
You know, people go to Burning Man every year, you know, and 50 to 70,000 people now leave that place totally untouched, no trash, everybody contributes. There's no money exchange, everything is gifted. Like, it's such an example of if we focus, if we have a philosophy, if people are committed, we're really capable of anything.
Yeah, so go for it, Tia. Super excited.
Yeah, I hope this encourages all of you guys to work on your definite chief aim. Everybody in our office is working on our definite chief aim. And, I mean, it's just a fun exercise to put something like this, both fun, ambitious, clear, in writing, even if it's just for yourself. I think it's really worthwhile.
Yeah, definitely. And it's an interesting thing, even if you don't feel like you want to share it with the world or with anyone else, it's just a nice thing to have you sit and think, what do I really want? And even if that changes over time and you need to rewrite it at some point because your goals have shifted, it's still an amazing exercise just to really focus on what am I doing with my life? What do I really want to try and put out in the world?
In fact, those drafts are really important and incredible history about your own becoming.
Definitely. And if you look at my father's process, I mean, in the archive we have, there's almost always multiple drafts of things that he was working on because he was constantly refining it. All right, so we had a couple of people write into us after the episode we did, episode 11, which was the walk-on episode, where we talked about my father's phrase of walk on and what that meant to him, which, as a recap, was when he injured his back and had to really figure out if he could and how he could reconstruct his recovery, as well as how he wanted to spend his time in a useful way during that time. So a couple of you wrote to us about that phrase. This one is from Eric Colby. He said, hello, I really enjoy your podcast. I can't wait until there's a new episode each week. In your episode Walk On, you asked us to consider what words or phrase has helped us in life or in times of need. I spent a couple years in Hong Kong about 25 years ago, and I really love the Cantonese word, and forgive me if I'm butchering this, "guojun," to improve, and the phrase "yatbo," "yatbo, yatbo, junbo," step-by-step progress. As I understand it, goi means to change, and jun means to progress, and together they mean to improve. I thought about this word a lot as I was learning Cantonese, and it helped me to keep working at it, especially when I thought of it in conjunction with yatbo yatbo junbo, or step-by-step progress. I wanted to be instantly fluent, but I wasn't. It took time, and these words helped to constantly remind me that it would come, and that it was okay to be patient with myself. After returning home, I found so many ways in which these words have helped me, whether it's school, work, relationships with family and friends, exercise, or whatever, that Goijun has become my personal motto. On another note, I just wanted to say thanks for sharing this week about your experience dealing with the death of your brother Brandon, including your tribute to your mother. Very heartfelt. Thank you, Eric Colby.
Nice.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, wow. It's so interesting how we just have these things that sort of stick in our consciousness and motivate us. Like, that is very particular to him. I doubt there are very many other people that are using those phrases.
But I like it.
I love it.
I like how those two things put together are creating this, just like a break in your normal consciousness, something that just kind of busts through.
Yeah, definitely. And it really means walk on, right? Just keep going. Step-by-step progress, improving. So thank you for sharing that, Eric. This one is from Francis Finnegan. Hello, Shannon and Sharon. I'm writing to express my gratitude for your work in creating the Bruce Lee podcast. I caught the podcast and have been listening since around the time episode 3 was released. Being interested in Bruce Lee's work for some time, I find the personal stories Shannon tells of her father very insightful, and they help ground my conception of Bruce's philosophy in reality. I also wanted to say that I loved the shout-out to Alexander Macialis a few episodes back. When I was younger, I actually fenced with him in the same club, and it was so cool to hear an often unrecognized sport get some recognition, especially for an awesome guy like Alex. In listening to the most recent episode, Walk On, an interesting comparison struck my mind with my Irish ancestors who immigrated to America and had to overcome challenging and adverse circumstances. While I in no way wish to compare the struggle of accurate representation in contemporary/past media to immigration in the 1800s, one thing that always stuck with me was that my great-grandparents, no matter how tough the times were, would also take a, quote, walk-on mentality. Times were hard for them as they adapted to a new lifestyle in the U.S. Irish Americans were discriminated against when they first immigrated, and I have heard some tough stories of the lives they had to endure when they first moved over here. But once immigrated, my ancestors would unapologetically be themselves while recognizing they played a part in their society. They overcame and adapted when necessary in the new world. They threw themselves into and would continue to walk on, despite often being down for the count. Not necessarily a Bruce Lee moment for them, but certainly taking to heart what would later be his philosophy. Anyway, I just wanted to email to show my appreciation for the hard work you both do. Keep up the awesome work and walk on, Francis. That's very nice. I'm so glad. First of all, how awesome that you know Alexander Macialis, that we did an aha on him. So that is great. And to hear that he's a great guy, too. So that's wonderful. And yeah, thank you for sharing that about your grandparents and having that walk-on mentality. So many people, my father included, when he came to this country, really had to find their way, Being new to this country and having to find your way really does take a lot of courage, a lot of strength, and you do have to continually put one step in front of the other because it's so challenging. Way more challenging for your great-grandparents than for my father, who, was a different time and also knew some people here in the United States, so at least he had some touch points. So thank you for sharing that story.
And many of us are children of immigrants, and this country's not that old, and so we don't have to look that far into our past to discover a story like this.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thanks so much for sharing your ideas and process and your definite chief aims with us. We really appreciate you writing in and letting us know how the philosophy is working in your life.
Yeah, thank you. And please continue to do so. Love to hear more definite chief aims, affirmations, your inspirational phrases that help you, or any of the other action items that we've touched on.
Yeah, and if you want to let us know how you're doing, you can email us at hello@brucelee.com.
All right, thanks.
Our next segment is called Aha, Awesome Asians and Happas. And this is a segment where we highlight awesome Asians and Happas in the universe doing cool stuff as a honoring and nod to Bruce Lee, who wanted to just highlight the complexity and beauty of Asian culture. So who do we have today?
Today, our aha is Maya Lin.
Oh yeah, Maya Lin. She's been around for a while.
She's been around for a while, and she just won the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
I know, I heard about that. Fantastic.
Or was awarded it. I don't know if it's something you win or...
Awarded.
Exactly.
I think it just chooses. So what's Maya Lin's shout out about?
For those of you who don't know, Maya Lin is an American designer and artist known for her work in sculpture and land art. And she came to fame at the age of 21, by the way, as the designer of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in D.C. So Maya was born in Ohio. Her parents migrated to the U.S. from China. Her father was a ceramicist and former dean of the Ohio University College of Fine Arts, and her mother is a poet and also taught literature at Ohio University. She is also the niece of Lin Huiyin, who is said to be the first female architect in China.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah. Maya studied at Yale, where she received her bachelor's and a Master of Architecture degree, and she was awarded honorary doctorate degrees from Yale, Harvard, Williams College, and Smith College. As I said, she first came to fame because of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. She was just 21 years old. She won a public design competition for that.
Right, I remember that. I remember it was really controversial, too.
Yeah, she beat out over 1,400 other submissions, and, her conception was to create essentially an opening or a wound in the earth to symbolize the gravity of the loss of the soldiers and to have all of the names, right, of all of the people who had died. But the design was controversial because it was an unconventional design. And also a non-traditional, but also because when they found out that she was Asian and female.
Yeah.
Like, what does that have to do with anything? And her lack of professional experience.
Yeah, that she was so young.
Yeah. But, she had to go and speak before Congress to get them to approve her as having won the contest. And she has said if it hadn't been a blind submission process, she probably would not have been chosen.
Wow, yeah. And it's, for those of you who have not seen it, it's really beautiful and moving space, and I think that probably all the family members who have people who died in that war so appreciate that their names are there and that they get to go and kind of be honored in that way.
Exactly, because so many of those fallen, they weren't recovered, they don't have, and the memorial has since become like an important pilgrimage site for relatives and friends, and many tokens and mementos are left daily at the wall in memory of the casualties. And the American Institute of Architects ranked the memorial number 10 on their list of America's favorite architecture.
Yeah, now after all that controversy, people love that, but it must have been hard for her to face all that when she was just 21.
Yeah, she received harassment after her ethnicity was revealed as the contest winner. She was called an egg roll by Ross Perot after it was revealed that she was Asian. I mean, so what is wrong with people? I don't understand, but and in order to have it pass, they also had to include a bronze statue of a group of soldiers and an American flag off to the side of the memorial. But Maya Lin now owns and operates the Maya Lin Studio in New York City, and she has gone on to design other structures, including the Civil Rights Memorial in Montgomery, Alabama, the Wave Field at the University of Michigan, and she was the subject of an Academy Award-winning documentary called Maya Lin, A Strong, Clear Vision. And as we said, she just was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So
I think it's official. Maya, you're awesome.
yes. You were awesome then, and you're awesome now.
Thank you for being, like just an artist, like a true artist, and manifesting your work and sharing your vision and your art with the world. Thank you.
Yeah, and also for, standing strong in the face of adversity and standing up for your designs and your belief, and you're a true creative force, so thank you. You're awesome.
Yay!
Yay. Our next segment is the Bruce Lee moment. And Bruce Lee moment is a time when